And Mary, talking about that, one of those lawsuits is a multi-million-dollar claim where 4 female SPD officers from this department accuse Diaz of discrimination, sexual harassment, and creating a hostile work environment. Yet in his first public comments since those allegations came to light, Diaz called them absurd for one specific reason.
It's a story that it's struggled with over the last 4 years, that I'm a gay Latino man.
Until this interview with radio host Jason Rantz, Adrian Diaz insisted he never felt compelled to discuss his sexuality. But then came a $5 million lawsuit from female officers accusing him of being a sexual harasser.
Just because you're a gay man doesn't mean that you can't be a misogynist, and but I know who I am, and I know what I've done.
As part of that lawsuit, one female officer said Diaz made her uncomfortable with frequent comments about her appearance and dress. She also alleges he tried to invite himself to her home under the guise of doing house repairs. Diaz largely stayed quiet about those allegations until now.
And I know that I've been always true to myself, and I've always treated people well and respectfully. I've never done that, and so I think that was really those challenges on your character are really hard.
KOMO News reached out to the attorney representing the 4 officers at the center of that lawsuit. We were told he was on vacation and ended up leaving him a message.
I was talking to...
Yet in Seattle, one of Diaz's steadfast female supporters isn't backing down.
I think he's going to be a little happier.
Victoria is the former head of SPD's African American Advisory Committee. She said Diaz called her ahead of this radio interview and came out to her over the phone.
It shocked me, but immediately I said, that does not change my opinion of you. I love you as my friend, as my former boss. Nothing will change.
All this as Diaz revealed he just interviewed to be the possible new police chief in Austin, Texas. Now, today we did hear from the interim SPD police chief. Her name was Sue Rahr. In a statement to us, she said, "We are happy that former Chief Adrian Diaz is able to share his story and be open and confident with his true, authentic self." Coming to you live from SPD's West Precinct tonight. Ryan Sims, KOMO News.
Ryan, thank you. Just last month, Seattle Mayor Mayoral said the former chief would remain with the department in another role in special projects. We reached out to SPD to clarify what Diaz's new role is, and we have not heard back. We did hear from the mayor's office about an hour ago. The mayor's office says, quote, former Chief Diaz informed Mayor Mayoral and staff of his administration several months ago about his sexual orientation. Mayor Mayoral supports him now, as he did then, for sharing this about himself and being an authentic leader.
Tonight, we're hearing from former Seattle Police Chief Adrian Diaz. During a new interview today, he revealed information that he says he's been struggling with for the last 4 years. Listen.
You know, it's absurd, and I haven't had that opportunity to just be able to tell my story. It's a story that it's struggled with over the last 4 years, that I'm a gay Latino man. And it doesn't bother me. It's more of my concern for my kids, because they're going to have to deal with a lot of the struggles that I might not have to deal with. You know, I have a lot of support. I have a lot of connections and a lot of different work that I've done in every community. But I've not been able to just come out, and that has been a struggle. You know, when you live for 4 years, you know, in a level of secrecy, in the sense of, you know, when I kind of knew many years ago, you try to find that right time to say, okay, this is going to be the time for me to come out. And people always tell you, don't come out until you're ready. And it was, you know, a struggle, because I had been married for, at that time, 16 years. And you have initially, you know, we hadn't even gone through COVID. So we were, you know, kind of in the midst of like a variety of different changes that were happening in the world. And then, you know, COVID hit, George Floyd hit. I was then appointed as the interim chief. So then that wasn't a good time, because when you're being, you know, up for a job, there's a thought that, like, oh, he cried, or he's sensitive, or he's not going to be able to handle the pressures of the work. And I took our department through some of the most difficult times and challenges in our history.
So Ryan Sims joins us live tonight. Ryan, Diaz was just removed as police chief just last month, just a few weeks ago, as sexual assault lawsuits began to pile up against him in the police department. This really took a lot of people by surprise today.
It definitely did, Stephen, and whether you love him or don't like him at all, what a month that Adrian Diaz has had. You mentioned it, the lawsuits. We reported on it extensively. There are 4 female officers at the department who allege Diaz of discrimination, sexual harassment, and creating a toxic work environment. One of those in particular was from a female officer who said that Diaz would constantly make inappropriate comments about her appearance, about how she dressed. There was another allegation as part of her specific claim against him that he would always invite himself over to her home unsolicited and unwarranted under the guise of making home repairs. And so those allegations, again, 4 female officers, and specifically those allegations I just mentioned, really came to the forefront when he resigned as police chief a few weeks ago. Now, flash forward to today, he goes on the Jason Rantz show. Again, he is still embroiled in these lawsuits, embroiled under allegations that he is a sexual harasser and used his tenure as chief to go after women in the department. He goes on the Jason Rantz show and just makes that shocking admission that he is, in his words, a gay Latino man. Where we go from here is that the chief says that he is now out. He is now proud. Of course, it is Pride Month. He also talked with Jason Rantz pretty extensively about the fact that he made this decision somewhat in regard to the allegations against him. He says, in his words, that yes, you can still be a harasser of women if you're gay. You can still be a misogynist if you are gay. But he insists that that is not him. He said time and time again in that interview, that is not who I am. But he also spoke about the fact that these allegations have now been swirling for about 2 months now. And he said that, as you played in that soundbite right now, that he has struggled with this decision, how to come out of the closet. He is married, he has kids, so that obviously is an incredibly heart-wrenching decision for him to make, but how to do it. And he said that, according to him, that in the aftermath of these allegations, especially with regard to the sexual harassment allegations, that it kind of motivated him in a way to do it now. So he says that he's going to continue at it. Jason Rantz asked him specifically about the lawsuits and about, if he has any response to the specific allegations against him, even down to the fact of him inviting himself over to a female officer's home unsolicited. He didn't get into that, saying it's all going to be played out. But this was a shocking admission from him today after just a month where he was accused of those allegations. Then he resigned as police chief, which was a huge thing. And now this latest thing where he declared his sexuality after being in such a public position for so long. So definitely it's been quite a month for him, and willing to bet that this is not the last we hear from him, Steve.
Absolutely. And we've also learned about another job that he's apparently going after as well, another police chief job. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, that's right. So as part of this interview, it was brought up, what are you going to do now? Currently the chief is in kind of an unspecified advisor role at SPD, which we still don't really have any kind of job description about that, leading a lot of people to believe and think that the former chief was demoted. He goes from a top cop job like that to we don't even know what his job description is now. So it was asked to him, what are you currently doing? What's your prospects? We learned in that interview he plans to possibly head to Austin, Texas. He just last week, according to him, had an interview with Austin police there again in Texas. He said that he thought the interview went well. Again, that's one interview I would imagine. I'm not an expert, but I would imagine, given how, what it top kind of position that is, an important position is, that there will be many more interviews to follow. But he said that first interview went well. And so as he's kind of making this declaration about himself and coming to terms with who he is as a person and announcing it, it seems like he might be making a life change as well, heading from Seattle down to Texas. So that's another thing we're going to keep tabs on, is how much longer he may be here in the Seattle area at SPD for now. So we'll check that out, Steve.
Ryan, in regards to that new revelation that was made by him today, obviously in that circumstance, we want to hear from the mayor, what he knew, when he was told, that sort of thing. We want to hear from the new police chief, Surar, who just took the helm a couple of weeks ago. We want to hear from the police union. Are we hearing from any of those folks tonight about this revelation that Diaz made?
Most of them were tight-lipped. Now, for his part, Diaz said that he did meet with the mayor 4 months ago, kind of when details were starting to come to light about these allegations against him. He told the mayor, according to him, 4 months ago about his sexuality, said the mayor was supportive and understood why, this might be kind of a big deal against him. But we have not actually heard from the mayor's office, at least not yet today. Same with the city manager. We did hear from interim police chief Surar. She issued somewhat of a common statement, but a supportive statement saying that she is glad that Adrian Diaz now is able to live his life out and to his true character. So there were supportive words from the current police chief, but it seems like so far everyone, kind of a who's who of people who normally would comment on this, they're staying kind of tight-lipped so far, waiting to see how this kind of plays out. We also got to mention this, left a message with the attorney of the 4 officers, the attorney who represents those 4 officers accusing Diaz of some pretty unsavory things. We're waiting to hear back from that attorney as well. So this is a story that developed today. Definitely there's going to be more components of it as the week goes on, Steve.
Certainly more to come on that. Ryan, thanks very much for your reporting tonight.